So it's the perfect crime. So the dragon expansion is the exact same as Dragonflight because there are dragons.
The War Within has a vaguely red logo, just like Stormblood.
I think Magni's Minfilia, and he's all like, "Ooh, champion! We gotta save the reflections."
Midnight, Shadowbringers. There's purple there. No one's allowed to use purple except Final Fantasy.
But Shadowlands was a knockoff of Endwalker. Thrall is Lys and returns home. Nobody likes him anymore because he's been gone too long. And everyone's like, go talk to the old man. Is Chen still alive?
Yes.
Okay, so Chen comes out, and we have to rebuild this home. Who steps on who?
In War Within,
is it just a fruit of painting a fruit? We can't step on people in WoW anymore?
You can't have overly sssexy characters in World of Warcraft. So.
Okay, so that's too sexy. So you have Arthas dragging Sylvanas by the hair.
But they're gone. They're Arthas.
Yeah, no, they're gone.
Arthas is a blue energy orb worth like 10 renown, and Sylvanas is doing dailies in the maw.
I mean, it would be badass if Arthas turned into a frost worm.
That would be kind of cool.
I'm still confused as to why Thrall and Anduin don't know who it is that's yelling at them.
It's because it's Magni's job to know who it is.
But, like, Magni's been yelling about it forever. Like, no one listened?
Thrall was off being farmer dad, and Anduin, that was BFA? What was Anduin doing in BFA?
I mean, I assume Anduin's gonna fight for something, right? He had to fight that thing, the BFA cutscene. He fought. He cried at the sky.
I think he has to fight for himself. I think he's like depressed and shirking his duties.
He needs to learn to fight for himself. That's the character's journey he's on.
That's what's going on here with Anduin.
And then the sword breaks, and Greymane pilots Azeroth, and we did it.
Well, Kyle?
Yes, Garrett?
Really kind of feel like I'm in an Ouroboros situation.
The snake eating itself?
Yes, I've come full circle.
Oh, because the WoW to the Final Fantasy with everyone checking out the WoW again. It goes around.
To the WoW, yeah. It doesn't feel as unified. When it was the hot trend to talk about how everyone's leaving for Final Fantasy 14, to me in the moment, it actually did feel like almost everybody was leaving for Final Fantasy 14. I don't think we're quite to all the WoW refugees are returning to WoW. I don't think we're at that point, but like it kind of feels like we're on the cusp of that. It feels like the stock market of intrigue in World of Warcraft line goes up. Line's going up right now.
I say this knowing there are many videos with those exact titles. Why would you do that? Isn't the whole joy of the Final Fantasy the ability to play the other games like Yoshi P 1 or you 2? You play the other games when the games are low. And right now, the majority of people are done with Endwalker. They got patches rolling out, but there's a nice, happy time period right now. Whereas if you're curious, if you have the spare time, you would be playing other games, right?
Right.
So what, right? I'm not entirely immune to hype, but all my friends are playing right now. They've all fired up their accounts. I'm the only one. And I'm not like sitting in reserve. I'm not mad. I am mad about one. I think that image is like hideous. The WoW with the tokens and all the bonuses. Don't tell me what dollar value a thing is. I'm going to buy it. If I buy it, I determine the value. Don't tell me those sprays and I can only ride one mount at a time. What? $90 for a 3-day early.
I don't pay attention to those things because I don't buy them anyway.
I
mean, since you made me look at it, I can go look at it and go, that's disgusting.
Yeah,
this is the most mobile, weird. Like money grubbing that I can think of.
Trading post points.
I've never looked in. Is there collector's editions for Final Fantasy 14? FF14
yeah, there's
digital collectors like. Oh, holy shit, there was a $200 physical version with a really dope statue, and now I want to see if I can find this on eBay. Was there a digital? Yeah.
A death sight, the Aaron mount, like a flying Pegasus pony armored thing, and a wind-up Porom minion. I mean, it still doesn't have the space points on the back end. Like, that's the weird offensive
No, but that's a
part.
new thing, and I don't understand it because I barely played Dragonflight. I got to max, I saw what story they had to show me that wasn't behind a raid, and I went back to 14. Actually, I was just playing it simultaneously with 14. There was no leaving 14 to try Dragonflight. I was just like, oh, new WoW expansion. Let me see what this is about. So I don't really know what's going on with the trading post other than I am one of your friends who re-upped their WoW subscription.
Oh my God, unsub.
But I got a quest to go look at the trade thing. They're like rare items and old TCG stuff gets thrown in there and you can buy it with this currency. And I think if you're subbed, you get some of the currency, but there's other ways to get more of the currency. And like, I don't really care. Some of my friends are super into it. It seems kind of fine. You don't have to interface with it if you don't want to. It's all extra. It's another way to get stuff besides just the money store, which I also don't like, but I don't really like in 14 either. Anyway, if we're here to have a conversation about like WoW after BlizzCon, there's three big chunks that it falls into for me. What's going on with retail? What's going on with Classic Plus, which is what we're all calling it, even though they've announced Season of Discovery, and I'm sure a season of other things will come down the road. And then just straight up what's happening with Classic, which is Cataclysm. I just want to ask you, Kyle, because I was really impressed by the World of Warcraft showing at BlizzCon. I admittedly didn't have very high expectations. I thought this was going to be an absolute snoozer of a BlizzCon year. I've been to every BlizzCon since 2010. This is the first BlizzCon I've ever skipped since I started going. I just didn't see it. Like we're too close to the Microsoft buyout for anything interesting to happen, to see any signs of what life under Microsoft is even going to look like, except for Phil Spencer's going to show up to BlizzCon from now on, probably. That's it. D4's out. That's their last new game. I don't count Rumble. It's a mobile game. That's not what I'm interested in. And everything else just kind of plodding along. So I thought, cynically, my cynic brain, Kyle, here's what my cynic brain thought. I literally thought they were going to roll out Chris Metzen as just a nostalgia lightning rod. Just, we have nothing to show. Chris, go out there and do Geek Is, the sequel.
Geek is.
And then everyone's like so hyped that Chris is there that no one even realizes that they had nothing to announce. It did feel like they kind of had nothing to announce for everything except World of Warcraft, which it felt like they had everything to announce.
We have decided to give you a glimpse at your next 3 expansion sets.
I mean, they announced 3 JPEGs. It's not like...
What?
This isn't groundbreaking. We're going to do a 3-act structure.
If you're going to be that dismissive, you're going to make me sound like the biggest fanboy in the world. You got there with 3 JPEGs. They brought a full-on Blizzard cinematic, which the fans love, and it did look pretty goddamn incredible. They brought an in-game trailer, which teed up much more of the story than the actual cinematic did. And then they had 2 deep dives, one for retail, one for classic, and they both went pretty deep into the systems in a way that I found pretty damn interesting as someone who is now mildly curious in what's going on with retail and legitimately want to go play Season of Discovery at the end of the month.
Talk is cheap. Talk is cheap, and Chris Metzen's a really good talker. Like, he enthralled the audience.
Does this meet with your approval, BlizzCon?
I love the man. Like, how can you not? He is one of my DMs in the world. That means a lot to me. And I will always respond in the positive to Chris Metzen. That's just how it is. This is a fascinating time period for this to happen. Not only you got Endwalker Doldrums for many, you also have the Fall Guys event, which I think kind of plays into this.
What? Okay. Explain yourself.
There's been a lot of talk about like the netcode, the spaghetti over the past 2 weeks, as people have been going through that Fall Guys and being like, "Oh, I got hit. Did I get hit by that? Oh, that was weird." And people are like, "Yeah, that's just raiding in Final Fantasy." Many people are experiencing Final Fantasy XIV raid mechanics for the first time, and some people are saying, "Oh, I kind of miss WoW. I kind of miss that responsiveness, that PvP, I smack you, you smack me." Dragonflight seems to have smoothed out. It's found its direction. We're heading towards this big 3-act structure. I'm just going to get straight to it. I don't need main character me. I don't need to be more than a champion. What I really need is the box copy to feel nice. If they're going to steal one thing from Final Fantasy XIV, give me a boss battle in that first week. Let my purchase feel meaningful. And let me go kick somebody's ass at the end of it.
Dude, I'm right there with you. So if you're watching this and you haven't played Final Fantasy XIV, or you haven't made it to the end of any major expansion in Final Fantasy XIV, what Kyle's talking about here is like within the narrative of Final Fantasy XIV, let's take the first expansion, Heaven's Ward, for example. If you go buy Heaven's Ward, which you don't need to because it's in the free trial.
Chill.
From the very beginning of Heaven's Ward to the final quest to complete what Final Fantasy XIV refers to as the MSQ, the main story quest, you are going to see the setup of the story they're about to tell you, and you are going to get a conclusion to that story that they're going to tell you before you ever even look at anything that resembles endgame content. But I'm with you. I would love it if they would steal that, because to me, like, the modern World of Warcraft, basically post Legion onward, has just felt like everything's just a big cliffhanger for the next cliffhanger. And like, it never feels like we ever actually accomplish anything.
But it's not that Final Fantasy doesn't have a bigger bad. It absolutely does. And some of them are from the same exact faction group as the previous. Just getting that experience where you feel like you can complete something without having to then gear up for a raid. It's just baked in for you. That's all I want.
You know, it's an interesting thought. How would you apply the final? Let's take Wrath of the Lich King as the example. Solely because everyone knows Arthas dies at the end. How would you take the Final Fantasy XIV approach to the MSQ and how they do that narrative and apply it to Wrath of the Lich King? Would you have ICC be the first raid available at launch? You go into Icecrown and you kill Arthas, and everything that comes after is like fallout of Arthas's death?
I mean, I would say just steal the trial system, yeah. Like, queue up, use your duty finder. That's the expansion box. And anything else that comes after that is evolving and things like the Ruby Sanctum and all that kind of thing.
It's a bad example because no one likes Ruby Sanctum, Kyle. Ulduar. Say Ulduar, and then people will agree with you. I'm not sure I want the trial system 100%, because now that we have, they've already done a decent job making raids accessible to everybody through raid finders. So like, maybe just ICC is the first raid in this world. So you still have to finish the narrative with a raid.
So I've been checked out for a while. They do have an MSQ style symbol. This is the quest that is somehow on the main path, right? That was throughout Shadowlands.
That was added in Shadowlands. Yes, it's like campaign. It's a campaign marker.
What I do think of as really positive is WoW embracing alts, which is weird to me. I guess I am rare. I only ever really played one character. But according to the presentations I watched,
2/3 of players who have a level 70 have multiple level 70s.
I would have loved to have seen that metric in Wrath when they had the most players ever, because there's been a big burn rate from World of Warcraft. So I think the only people that are left are pretty hardcore. If you kept playing after Shadowlands, like you're bought in, like you're into World of Warcraft. Like,
there's a good chance. There's a good chance.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't mean, like, it sounds like shade. I don't mean it like that. Like, I think it's just a reality of the situation. World of Warcraft had a tie. It's not there anymore. The people who are still playing really like this game and probably interface with it more than your average player would have back in like 2010.
It's a cozy game for many people too, so you can't just go throttling up the plot to be so heavy that people got to turn off the Netflix. That's not what they're into. WoW is a very, very big vibe game for many. And that's why I'm so into, like, just give me the box copy. Like, just give me an event at the end that sort of ties it all together, and then I can have that emotional moment and that excuse to leave your game and be happy with what I've done. With that information in tow about 2/3, which is impressive, it seems like they're making a really good call to go more Diablo on their stable. Like, that looks nice. You know, you log in, you see your fortunes, you're thinking to yourself, ooh, who am I going to take out tonight? You got this warband thing going on, your shared accounts, you can all craft without having to mail each other. cutting down the barriers, the oral tradition of MMOs to something that just makes sense. All your alts are alive and well and can craft together in one box. That's nice. That looks good.
Does it move the needle for you? Because you were never an alt player.
No. But I see the appeal. You know what I mean? Like that's appealing. Having your big rich guy garage full of cars and you can't decide which one you're going to take out today. And I don't know a lot about cars, but I guess you'd have to have someone like drive them every couple of days, like ponies, make sure they're fed so they don't get...
It is bad for an engine not to run, and it's terrible for a battery to sit.
Yeah, so that's your login bonus. You got to get in your car every couple of days and start it up or something like that. But, you know, like that appeals to me, whether or not I would pursue it. So yeah, combining the flight points. I don't need to role play finding another flight point. That's fine by me. Getting that Diablo screen, the transmogs, the crafting, the chest stuff. I really like those choices. Are they for me? Not necessarily, but I am missing that combat responsiveness. And I will always be seduced by WoW's and in general Blizzard's approach of come break my game. My game is already broken by having 3 factions, Zerg, Protoss, Terran. It's not meant to be perfectly balanced. So why not try pulling that boss to a weird corner and letting the Warlock tank it?
Getting back in there myself, like, I forgot how action forward playing World of Warcraft feels like. And your mileage varies on whatever class you're playing, but my Paladin is already maxed in Dragonflight. I hit max at launch. So I got back in and I was like, I want to compare this to my favorite job in Final Fantasy XIV, Dark Knight. Because Death Knight has never really clicked for me despite it being my favorite thing in Warcraft. I love Death Knights. I don't like playing them. I've always found blood tanking horribly boring compared to every other tank I could play in that game. So I jumped back in and I was just like, I know I'm leveling, but screw it. I'm just going to grab blood so I can get a feel for it and tank my way through some dungeons, and bounced off in like an hour, dude. I was like, oh, Dark Knight has ruined Death Knight for me. For like, this class is dead to me. I don't think I'm ever going to play a Death Knight in World of Warcraft. Immediately jumped over to my warrior. Holy shit, warriors are fun. Warriors are so much fun, man. It's like, you think about it, it's like the most vanilla thing you can play in World of Warcraft. I'm gonna be the sword dude. But they got a double stack of charge, heroic leap, so you're just dashing between everything you want to murder, and if your dash is down, you just jump to them. Your dash can break terrain, so you can like go up a cliff. You can jump up a cliff with heroic leap. You can jump off a cliff that would kill you because you're not a rogue, but you can heroic leap at the end to survive it. It does damage. And I'm just going. As much as Final Fantasy XIV has dialogue, World of Warcraft has murder, 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 murder.
And I hate it. I should say, I hate the leveling experience. Because as a holy priest, I don't like Shadow. And as a disc priest, I don't like Shadow. And so when I'm leveling, I often, as I am stubborn, do it as disc or holy and hate the whole experience because I don't like Shadow. So the idea that the MSQ with plot and dungeons and very little killing along the way gets me to that max level. Ooh, does that feel good?
I like both. I like both. Both is good. They're very different. I understand people who don't like either. I have friends who just can't get through 14 because they all hit some flavor of, do they get paid by word? They think there's too much reading. There's too much plot. For the love of God, can I press a button? And I get that, but I like it. And flip side, you are my example for this. I also get not liking the way World of Warcraft does it. But I like both. And I particularly enjoy the way World of Warcraft does it because when I play alone, I can listen to a podcast. I can have a show on the side. I can watch Dragon Ball Z for the 7th time. Because it's just this kind of vibey flow state that I get into when I'm playing World of Warcraft, which I don't think I've ever gotten into a flow state with Final Fantasy XIV. Baby Baja, like I would get into a flow state. Fishing, I have gone in and fished alone since we did our fishing stream. That's a bit of a flow state.
Challenge logs, the hunting logs when you're like leveling a low level job. I'll get there.
Too much to look and try and see what zone it's in, and it's a bunch of teleporting because there's load walls between zones. So what I really want to ask you, Kyle, all of this has just been warming you up, romancing you. Does this make you want to play World of Warcraft?
You don't care if I want to play. You want to know if I'll play with you.
Are you accusing me of being one of the people that says, I just want you to vote, when in reality, they just want you to vote for the person they're voting for?
I mean, sorry, it's a little different than that because we're both getting something out of it. I think hardcore has a really interesting drama to it that I would enjoy a lot.
My biggest hang up, besides Kata Classic, which I think is just foolhardy. I don't know why they're doing that. They say there's people. I don't know anyone. I don't know anyone who wants Cataclysm Classic. Season of Discovery is a number one spot for me right now. Because starting with a level 25 cap, I'm like, ooh, I can sign myself up for that. I can get to level 25. I can get to level 25 in vanilla. And also playing with a bunch of abilities that you never had in original vanilla sounds really enticing to me.
I like ability draft in games like Dota. It's a big unknown for me, but the question's always about retail, right? We're dodging the question here. It's always about that retail. Can you stomach? Are you interested in the retail?
And that's why that's the first thing I jumped into, because it's really the only curiosity I could scratch right now, because I'm not going to go play hardcore by myself. I'm not going to just go play regular ass classic right now, even though I would love to do ICC with you, because you've never done ICC. That is on my Mount Rushmore of shit I want to make Kyle do. But nothing happened at this BlizzCon that made me go, I got to go play vanilla, or I got to go play Wrath of, or I got to go play BC Classic. None of the OG classics I need to go play. Retail, I am firmly in the prove it. Metzen, I like Metzen too. I trust Metzen. But you're saying now's the time to come back. Now's the time to get on board, to experience this narrative. And he himself put a lot of the weight on the narrative. I don't put a lot of the weight on the narrative for WoW. I never have, except for Wrath of the Lich King, because I'm a Raging Arthas fanboy. I have always put the weight on endgame and how much I like playing it. More often than not, I did enjoy playing it. That's why I played WoW for so long. Never cared that much about the narrative. But now, I love Final Fantasy XIV. And I love the story that it told. And I really enjoy what it's led to with this channel, which is this co-op experience. This like, I don't know how I got so lucky that I'm here, that I've accidentally ended up in a world where I now have a small business playing big dorky games with my friend. Oh man, I haven't had a night like this since Wrath of the Lich King.
Yeah, BC for me, probably.
This,
oh my God. Shanin' hard night of hard work.
And that's awesome. And I want that again. So like, I love that I get this big fantasy MMO co-op experience with a narrative that I give a shit about in 14. If Chris Metzen is going to get on stage and hang the appeal of the next 3 expansions on the narrative, this big MCU style story based roadmap of here's where we're going, then I am in the prove it camp. Prove it. Make good on this promise. Prove to me that there is still a story in Warcraft worth telling, because I've been burned in the past. Do you want to play a Warcraft?
Run around with a guy named Thrall.
Clicking on a flight path.
I miss my order hall.